Let's cut to the chase. You think you know what women want. No, not just flowers, dinner dates, or sweet texts. I'm talking about the things she won't say out loud, the things she craves deep inside, even if she doesn't fully understand it herself. This isn't about manipulation. This is about understanding. Because when you understand what truly moves her soul, what awakens her feminine core, you stop being just another guy and become the man who's unforgettable. Most men have been taught that being there physically is enough, that showing up, spending time, and being around is the gold standard for being a good partner. But what most don't realize is that what women secretly crave runs far deeper than your presence alone. They want your emotional presence, your mental engagement, and your undivided attention in moments that matter to them. You might be sitting on the same couch watching a movie or eating dinner at the same table, but if your mind is elsewhere, if your energy is distracted, if your responses are half-hearted and you're simply nodding while scrolling through your phone, she feels it. Women are extremely intuitive and sensitive to the energy around them, especially from the man they care about. She can sense when you're just there, versus when you're fully invested in that moment with her. And when she senses you're not fully present, she begins to emotionally detach, not because she wants to, but because emotional connection is her oxygen. It's the fuel that allows her to feel safe, open, desired, and loved. When a woman speaks to you about her day, her feelings, or even the smallest things, what she's really looking for is a reflection of your awareness in the moment. She doesn't always want a solution. She doesn't want to be fixed. She simply wants to feel seen, heard, and understood, and when you provide that kind of emotional presence, she leans in, she softens, she trusts. Most men underestimate how powerful their attention is. Not just the kind of attention that comes with compliments or noticing her looks, but the attention that says you matter to me right now. The kind that says, I'm not just hearing your words, I'm absorbing your emotions. When you bring your full attention to her, you become a safe space, and in today's world where distractions are constant and real connection is rare, your ability to be emotionally present becomes a rare gift that sets you apart. She wants to know that when she's speaking, your phone can wait, your eyes won't wander, and your mind won't drift. It's in those moments that she builds a deeper attachment to you. She starts to open parts of herself that even she may have kept locked away. And this doesn't mean you need to be her therapist or fix every problem, but simply to hold space, to listen without interrupting, to validate her feelings without trying to argue or explain. Your presence becomes a mirror that reflects her value. Your silence becomes the container for her emotions, and your stillness becomes the grounding energy that she longs to lean into. Emotional presence isn't just about the big conversations either. It's in the little things. It's in the way you ask how her day was and genuinely care about the answer. It's in the way you look into her eyes when she's telling you something important. It's in the way you remember the details she told you a week ago because you were actually listening. And when you're present with her emotionally, you're not just building attraction. You're creating emotional security, and that's the foundation of any long-lasting connection. Because when a woman feels that emotional presence, she no longer has to chase your validation. She no longer feels the need to beg for attention or over-explain her feelings. She simply relaxes, knowing that she is emotionally held, understood, and loved without judgment. And the truth is, presence isn't just about her. It changes you too, because when you learn to be emotionally present with a woman, you also learn to be emotionally present with yourself. And that is where real connection begins. A woman doesn't want to be told what to do or feel like she's under someone's thumb. But that doesn't mean she wants a man who constantly waits for her to decide everything or shrinks away from taking the lead deep inside. What she craves is a man who can hold space, take initiative, and lead with strength while still respecting her voice. It's not about control or dominance in the traditional sense. It's about grounded leadership, that energy that silently says, I've got this, without needing to shout or overpower. When a man walks in his masculine core and knows when to take charge with quiet confidence, she feels safe to relax into her own feminine energy. And this is not something she may ever openly admit, but it's wired into her being. Women thrive in environments where they feel emotionally safe, and emotional safety is often created by a man who has direction, clarity, and strength without ego. She's not asking you to be her boss. She's asking you to be her rock, someone who doesn't get easily shaken, who isn't afraid of making decisions and creating structure, especially when life gets chaotic, and leadership doesn't always mean making all the choices. It means being willing to hold the frame, to say, "This is where we're going," and take her along with certainty and care. It could be something as small as planning a date without her needing to ask, or something as deep as guiding the relationship with purpose instead of coasting aimlessly. Because when a man lacks vision or avoids responsibility, she feels the burden of having to carry both energies, and that leads to emotional fatigue. She wants to lean into you, but she needs to know you're sturdy enough to be leaned on. This kind of leadership isn't about perfection or power. It's about presence and responsibility. It's about showing up consistently, owning your role as a man, and offering stability through your energy, your actions, and your clarity. When you lead from a place of respect, not pride, she doesn't feel suppressed. She feels supported, and most men confuse this with dominance. But the kind of leadership she craves doesn't require force. It flows from integrity and strength. It's the ability to be decisive without being dismissive, to protect without controlling, to guide without invalidating her autonomy. And when you show her that kind of leadership, she naturally responds with softness, trust, and admiration. She wants to feel like you're in control of your own life, your emotions, your path, and by extension, that you can navigate the relationship with a sense of maturity and direction. She doesn't want to mother you. She doesn't want to lead every step. She wants to feel your direction, not because she's incapable of leading herself, but because her feminine essence is designed to respond to strength with surrender. And this balance doesn't happen through words. It happens through consistency, through how you show up during conflict, how you make decisions under pressure, how you protect her energy when she's vulnerable, when she sees that you can lead with emotional intelligence, not ego. She begins to feel a kind of peace she didn't know she needed, a deep exhale, because you've shown her that you're not just physically strong, but emotionally anchored too. And that's the kind of leadership she will follow, not because she has to, but because she wants to. And when a woman chooses to follow your lead out of desire and not obligation, that's when real connection, real intimacy, and real respect take root and grow in ways that can't be manufactured or forced. Men are often told to be open, to express everything, to communicate fully. But what many don't realize is that while women do appreciate emotional openness, they also crave a certain kind of mystery. It's not about being closed off or distant. It's about having layers that aren't immediately revealed. Being a man with depth creates curiosity. It stirs her imagination. It invites her into a journey of emotional and intellectual exploration that never feels finished. When everything is laid out on the table too soon, when you overexpose your thoughts, plans, and emotions without discernment, it can rob the connection of its natural tension. Women are drawn to discovery. They want to feel like there's more to you than what's visible at first glance. She wants to unwrap who you are over time, to feel like there's something sacred and exclusive about the way you open up to her slowly, intentionally, not because you're hiding, but because you're not performing. When a man has layers, a life beyond the relationship, passions that drive him, beliefs that guide him, and wounds that shape him, he becomes magnetizing. She feels that there's a whole world within you, and she wants to be a part of it. She wants to earn access to your inner world, not because she's playing a game, but because that journey of discovery is deeply feminine, just like the ocean is drawn to the moon. Her feminine energy is drawn to masculine depth. She doesn't just want your attention. She wants to explore the soul behind your eyes, but that only happens when you stop giving everything away too soon. This doesn't mean you need to be cold or emotionally unavailable. It means being intentional with your expression. It means showing her that there are parts of you that only reveal themselves through trust, time, and shared experience. This kind of mystery doesn't come from silence or moodiness. It comes from being grounded in who you are, from knowing that not everything needs to be explained. Some things are just felt. She wants to know what makes you tick, what scares you, what drives you forward, but she doesn't want all those answers in one sitting. She wants to earn them through connection, through intimacy, through the kind of moments where vulnerability comes naturally, not forcefully, when you share too much too fast. It can overwhelm her feminine energy. It makes her feel like she has no space to explore, no depth to reach, and no mystery to unravel. But when you keep parts of yourself sacred, when you allow her to peel back your layers over time, she stays emotionally invested, constantly curious, and quietly captivated. Mystery also lives in your silence, in the way you handle emotion, without always needing to verbalize every feeling, in the way you carry your past not as baggage but as strength, in the way you share your story piece by piece instead of pouring it all at once. And she also wants to feel like you don't need to be constantly validated or understood to feel strong. That you can sit with your own thoughts, wrestle with your own challenges, and still come out grounded and steady. A man who has mystery is not a man who plays games. He's a man who respects the power of gradual connection, who understands that attraction grows in space, in pauses, in subtle reveals. He knows that his depth is not a weakness but a magnet, and he lets her feel that through his energy, his presence, and the silence between his words. That's the kind of man she dreams of, not because he's hard to get, but because he's real, layered, and deeply rooted in who he is without needing to be fully explained. There's a part of a woman that wants to be taken, not in a way that disrespects her boundaries or ignores her consent, but in a way that allows her to fully surrender to the moment, to the man, and to the experience of being seen and desired on a level far beyond the surface. She craves a man who knows how to take the lead in intimacy with confidence, someone who doesn't hesitate or wait to be told what to do, but also doesn't bulldoze or dominate without sensitivity. It's a balance that most men never truly understand because it requires emotional intelligence, trust, and a deep connection to her energy, not just her body. When a man brings gentle dominance into intimacy, it unlocks something inside of her that words can't explain. It allows her to fall deeper into her feminine energy, to let go of the need to control, to overthink, to protect herself, and simply feel, to simply exist in her most vulnerable and powerful form at the same time. Gentle dominance is about being attuned to her breath, her body language, her energy shifts. It's about knowing when to hold her tighter and when to let her melt. It's about reading her without her needing to speak. When a man can touch her with intention, move with purpose, and make her feel safe within that intensity, she responds with a kind of passion and trust that cannot be faked or forced. It's not about roughness or aggressiveness unless she desires that in the moment. It's about confidence without ego, control without pressure, strength without fear. She wants to know that you can handle her full expression, the soft, the wild, the emotional, the sacred, and that you won't flinch when she opens all of it to you. Too many men either pull back in fear or push forward in force, but the one who stands firm with tenderness and command, that's the one she remembers. It's not about always being in control. It's about offering her a space where she doesn't have to be, where she doesn't have to think, where she can simply feel and follow, because you're leading with clarity and love. Your hands, your words, your energy all communicate the same thing. You're here, you're grounded, you're present, and she's safe. And when she feels that, something shifts inside her, her guard lowers, her heart opens, her body responds not just physically, but emotionally, because she knows this isn't performance, this is real. It's the look in your eyes that tells her she's being devoured emotionally before anything physical even begins. It's the way you speak to her without rushing, how you slow things down when everything in her wants to speed up, how you remind her with every touch that she's not just a body but a being worthy of being adored and worshipped without a single word of flattery. The secret is that women crave this more than they will ever say out loud. They want a man who leads in the bedroom with the same quiet confidence he leads in life, who understands that the dance of intimacy is not just a physical act, but a sacred exchange of energies. And when you give her that experience not just once, but consistently, she will bloom for you in ways that she's never shown to anyone else, not because you demand it, but because You've earned it because you've created a space where her soul feels safe enough to let go, to surrender, and to be fully seen in her most vulnerable beauty without shame, without pressure, and without fear. Every woman wants to feel appreciated, but not in the way most men think. Compliments are easy to give and even easier to forget when they come without intention, without timing, or without emotional presence. What she secretly craves is affirmation that feels real, specific, and meaningful, not a rehearsed string of sweet words, but something that makes her pause and truly feel seen. The truth is that overdoing praise can start to feel like noise. It becomes predictable, even performative, and when everything she does is constantly met with exaggerated flattery, it loses its impact. She begins to wonder if you're saying things just to get something in return, or because you don't know what else to say. But when you affirm her in a way that connects with her essence, when you notice things that others overlook, when you reflect her truth back to her in moments where it matters, she lights up from the inside out. It could be as simple as acknowledging the strength it took for her to face her day, or how her presence changes the energy in a room without needing her to say a word. It's when you tell her you love how deeply she thinks, or how her passion inspires you to be more of who you are. These are the words that sink into her bones, not because they're dramatic, but because they are true. And it's not just about what you say, it's about when and how you say it. She doesn't want to be praised constantly, she wants to be praised thoughtfully. She wants to feel like the affirmation comes from a place of true awareness, like you've been paying attention, even when she wasn't trying to impress you. That's when your words begin to carry weight, when they don't feel like lines but like reflections. She wants to feel chosen, not for what she looks like or how she fits into your life, but for who she is when she's raw, unfiltered, and real. She wants to feel like you see the woman behind the smile, behind the makeup, behind the moments where she tries to hold it all together. And when you affirm that version of her, not just the polished one, but the vulnerable one, that's when she trusts you with parts of her she's kept hidden. Affirmation should never be a strategy. It should be a mirror, a way of showing her what you see. And when what you see is beautiful, layered, strong, and soft all at once, she doesn't just feel admired, she feels known. Most men miss this because they either overcompensate with flattery or hold back entirely, thinking she'll know how they feel without them needing to say anything. But women crave connection through words, not empty words but rooted ones. Ones that reflect real emotion, real observation, and real presence. And it's not about grand romantic speeches or poetic declarations. Sometimes it's just the way you say her name when she's doubting herself, or how you remind her of her worth when she's feeling overlooked, or how you speak life into her dreams when the world tells her she's too much or not enough. That's the kind of affirmation she doesn't forget, because it doesn't just touch her ears, it touches her soul. And when you become the man who speaks that way, not constantly, but intentionally, you become her safe place, the voice she hears even when you're not around, the energy that reminds her that she's not just loved but truly valued for everything she is and everything she's becoming. There are moments when she's not okay, when her emotions rise like a storm she can't contain, when tears come without warning, or when frustration turns into silence and withdrawal. And in those moments, what most men instinctively try to do is fix the problem. Offer solutions, logic, advice, thinking that the fastest path back to peace is through action. But what she secretly craves is something entirely different. She wants your calm presence, not your strategies. She wants your quiet strength, not your explanations. She wants to know that when her world feels like it's crashing down, you won't run, you won't flinch, and you won't shut her down because you're uncomfortable with her feelings. She wants to know that her intensity won't scare you, that her tears don't make you think she's weak or dramatic, that her emotional chaos doesn't threaten the connection but deepens it when held properly. When a man can stay steady in the face of her emotional wave, something powerful happens inside her. She feels safe, not just physically, but emotionally. She feels like she can be fully herself, not the curated version, not the strong one, but the raw, unfiltered, deeply feeling woman that she often has to hide from the world. She wants to know that her vulnerability won't make you retreat, that you're not just in love with her when she's soft and smiling, but also when she's overwhelmed, unsure, or in pieces. And this is where most men miss the mark, because instead of being present, they rush to solve instead of listening. They interrupt instead of holding her. They judge her reactions as too much or unnecessary. But when you simply stay, when you look her in the eyes and say nothing except "I'm here," when you hold her without needing to understand every word, when you let her cry without asking her to stop, you give her something rare. You give her permission to feel, to unravel, to exhale, and she doesn't need you to carry her emotions for her. She needs to know that she's not alone inside them, that you can't sit beside her without turning her pain into a problem to fix, that you can witness her tears without turning away. Your strength is not in your ability to fix everything. It's in your ability to remain grounded when everything around you feels unsteady. And when she feels that from you, she begins to trust you in a different way, because now you're not just her lover or partner. You become her emotional anchor, the one she knows will be there even when she's not her best. And over time, this trust deepens the intimacy, not just physically but spiritually, because she feels like she doesn't have to filter herself or shrink her feelings to make you comfortable. She knows she can be wild, sensitive, overwhelmed, and she'll still be met with love, not distance. She doesn't expect perfection from you. She expects presence, and your stillness in her storm is what softens her heart more than anything else you could say or do. This kind of emotional resilience doesn't come from pretending to be unbothered. It comes from inner peace, from your ability to be fully with her while staying fully in yourself. When you master that, she sees you as a man who can weather not just her emotions but the complexities of life. And that is a kind of strength that no charm, looks, or words can replace, because now she knows you're not going anywhere. Not when it's messy, not when it's hard, not when she's raw. And that's the kind of man she feels safe giving her whole self to without holding anything back. One of the deepest cravings that most women carry but rarely speak about is the desire to be with a man who is living his purpose. A man who wakes up every day with a sense of direction, with fire in his soul and clarity in his heart, because purpose is magnetic. It draws her not just to you, but into her own sense of inspiration and expansion. When a man is chasing something greater than validation, greater than approval, greater than comfort, she feels it in his presence. She feels it in the way he walks, talks, listens, and leads. She wants to know that your life doesn't revolve around her, but that it includes her in a journey that already has meaning and momentum. It's not about being rich or powerful. It's about being intentional, about having a vision that goes beyond the moment, beyond the relationship, beyond instant gratification. A man without purpose often becomes stagnant, passive, reactive, and eventually emotionally dependent on her for identity and fulfillment. And when that happens, she starts to lose attraction, not because she's cold or ungrateful, but because something inside her stops trusting your masculine energy. The feminine craves motion, direction, conviction, and when you lose that, she loses the ability to relax into your leadership. When you're on purpose, you stop chasing women, because your energy is directed towards something meaningful, and because of that women naturally gravitate toward you, not because you're trying to impress them, but because your life is already full, already fueled, already alive, and she doesn't want to be your entire world. She wants to orbit around your purpose and feel inspired by your mission. She wants to see you focused, building, growing, failing, and still getting up again. Because that kind of drive activates something primal inside her, something that wants to support, nurture, and walk alongside that fire. A man with purpose becomes unpredictable in the best way, because he's not controlled by emotions or momentary approval. He makes decisions from a place of vision, not fear, and that creates emotional safety for her, because she knows you won't collapse under pressure. She knows your strength isn't performative but rooted in something deeper. When you're living with intention, she feels it in your silence, in your boundaries, in your presence. She knows that when you say no, it's because you're protecting something valuable. When you say yes, it's because it aligns with your values, not because you're trying to please her or avoid conflict. And that kind of clarity is rare, it's attractive, it's masculine at its core, and it allows her to trust you, to lean into you, to give you her full self without holding back. Your purpose doesn't have to be perfect or even fully defined. It just needs to be yours, something that gets you out of bed in the morning and keeps your spirit alive when life gets hard. And when she sees you fighting for that, showing up for that, honoring that, she respects you in a way that words can't capture. She desires you in a way that runs deeper than surface attraction, because now you represent something steady, something driven, something sacred. Most men try to get the woman first and find their purpose later. But it's the other way around. When you align with your purpose, you become the man who can truly hold a woman, not with your arms, but with your energy. And that's the kind of man she won't just love, but also admire, follow, support, and cherish, not because she needs you, but because she wants to be a part of something bigger than both of you, something that gives meaning to her love, her presence, and her feminine energy. So here's the truth. Women aren't that complicated, but they are deeply intuitive, emotional, and energetic beings. They don't crave more stuff, they crave more feeling, and when you learn to lead with presence, with mystery, with calm, and with purpose, you don't just get her attention. You earn her trust, her respect, and her passion. Be the man who gets it. Be the man who knows what she won't say. And watch how she responds in ways that go far beyond words.